Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's easy to say in life, you don't know what you don't know. I've learned a lot in this conversation. Stay tuned for more, everybody. This is going to be interesting. All right, welcome back, everybody. We asked Greg to stick around for another half hour because, and Wendy, I mean, wow. We're talking about, our sponsor is my buddy, My Metal Pro, and he's the #1 distributor for, let's bring that up real quick because I got to give them a shout out because they do so much to make our planet a better place. But there is slide 1, and put it on both the walls here real quick. I got Greg's reviews there, some past shows, Gold Cowboy, but My Metal Pro, I just knock out our promo for our sponsors, but literally, like, if you don't have gold, Wendy and I kind of confirmed this. If you don't have some gold in your portfolio, you are messing up an opportunity to like secure your future. Many people say, because it's just the rate of return on it. If you look at it, you say an all-time high. It was April this year, like, and it went down a little bit since then. I noticed, but not. But it was like it's still double what it was 2.5 years ago or something like that, right? But check that out, My Metal Pro. You can go to Gold Cowboy. Yep, I bought the domain, goldcowboy.com. That's the interview with the CEO. So that was kind of neat to be able to have the CEO of a very awesome company. There's my video production there. We got to fix our computer's acting up on us. I'll fix that. But there it is. Go to Gold Cowboy. There is Jason Arfman, the CEO, and watch a full interview of him talking about the industry and where it's going. And I have people saw that and they go, dude, how do I get some of this gold from you? I didn't put it out there. It aired a couple weeks ago. So very cool. Well, with that, let's dive in here and figure out more about why, get some experts that you talk to about making sure your home is in good shape. So thank you, Greg, for sticking around here. Shield Shingle, it's almost a tongue twister. Shield Shingle,
Yep.
Contractors, based out of O'Fallon, Missouri. Or Missouri. How do you say that? Missouri, okay. Depending on what part of St. Louis.
Right.
My mom says Highway Farty, or Highway Farty Far. Mom called in between shows, everybody. She's coming up to see me for lunch. Thank you, Mom. We all have to have our family, good members that have looked out for us. So, back that kind of leads to this question. What's the one thing that you would argue sets you apart from the others? I already come up with a couple, like to have a police officer there that's going to be the guy. I know there's not going to be some shady stuff going on here. Police now, like some of these roofing guys, maybe they just did come out of prison. I don't like to say anything, but
Sure.
I've talked to a couple of them. I'm not naming names, of course, but I'm like, wow, well, you served your time. Now you're getting your life on track. How about you have a police officer you're working with to do this to make sure, because you have nothing there. You got really somebody integral. That's pretty cool. But what is it that really sets you apart, would you say?
I think what really sets us apart is our treatment of people. We show up when we say we're going to be there, and we take care of the problem. We've had a homeowner call us 5 a.m. on a Sunday, say my TV's not working. We've already put in a roof. We've already finished our job, all of our work there. We're done there aside from the insurance, and our TV's not working. So we drive an antenna down there at 6:15 in the morning and hook it up to her TV so she has TV. It's just the different treatment you get with us. We want you to be happy with us. We want you to trust us. And we want you to call us back and refer us to your family,
Word of mouth business, everybody. That's the way to do it. We just are trying to highlight the people who are doing word of mouth. Get them a leg up to say, hey, those people who can't necessarily afford a $30 million budget for marketing, hey, let's just do a little community show and we'll invite the leaders in our community.
That's
and
awesome.
Our sponsors will help us put this together and make it happen. So that's important, I think, for helping our whole community. Thank you for doing what you're doing to make that a reality. Because a lot of small businesses out there, they're the ones that make the world go round.
Sure.
They're the ones that contribute to the baseball team and the Girl Scouts and all that. And so they're really. My mom said to me, she goes, Carter, because I was doing a lot of charity work. She goes, stop with all the charity work. You got to pay your bills. I'm like, Mom, I've done all right. I'll talk to you more about who's got more money, me or you. I didn't say that. Maybe I did, but we've done well, and not just enough to get through our life. We don't need billions or millions even. Maybe. And we'll see. These days, you got to have a little bit to make it
Right.
if you're going to retire. But anyway, she said, focus on helping the small businesses. You're really doing good stuff. She's got the building named after her, so I listened to her. She wouldn't have earned that unless somebody thought she's doing good work. And John Goodman flew in for that ceremony. That was kind of neat, her student. But she said, you help the small businesses because they're the ones that literally are making the world go round. They're the ones that hire the people in the community. They're the ones that provide the jobs. They're the ones that contract to the other contractors and get the work done. And they're the ones that donate to the charities. So if you want to help charities, help the people who help the charities, right?
Absolutely.
And that's a good strategy for life, I think. So I appreciate that. And Lisa, tell me a time when you really felt like you helped a client. I can imagine you've seen some crazy stories. So the history of your family and how long your family's been in the business. Well, give me a couple examples where you're like, wow, somebody got taken here and we had to help them.
I'd say most recently is what we talked about. That entire complex, 15 plus buildings.
It was 15 plus.
15 plus buildings. I mean, a contractor came through, promised the world, gave them a shoddy contract, and next thing you know, they're with roofs that all have to be replaced. Hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of damage, basically. Just wasn't done correctly. But we see it a lot. I mean, aside from, I hate to rag on contractors because that's not what we're here for. But we've helped a lot of people. I mean, we've had people call us on Sundays saying, "Hey, I'm getting water in my kid's bedroom. Come help us." And our crews are there within 2 hours. Fixing what they have going on and stuff like that. So.
Well, people say that you should never talk negatively about anything. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm gonna tell you the truth. I'm not here to BS people either. Like, if something happened, it's a factual, proven thing. You got to let people know. It's like you're doing them a disservice to not let them know, hey, yeah, I know these guys did whatever. And maybe they fixed it, maybe they came through it. You don't hold them accountable for the rest of their lives because we all have made mistakes in our lives. But you can't just be like, oh yeah, they're wonderful. No, they weren't. They didn't do the job right. And it's just something you have to consider when you're making a decision for your house and for your family. And just be honest. I don't care if it's sugar-coated is not good, but it's just make sure it's honest. And that's what we want to see. So, as a police officer, you dealt with that a lot.
Yeah, I think it kind of piggybacks off what you said earlier, I mean, and what we were talking about. Anybody that comes to your house and wants to rush you through that decision is probably not have your best interest at heart. We're not going to rush you. We want you to have all the information in front of you before you sign that paper or whatever it is that company puts in front of you. So, I mean, I think that's one of the biggest takeaways. Just don't be rushed through this, Nobody has the right to rush you through your house and your place of peace, let you fix it the way that it's supposed to be fixed.
Yeah, no, that's a matter. Get the contract signed. We got a call the other day on my cell phone. My number's out there publicly. I found out technically they can call my number because it's been listed for business purposes. So legally, if they can find the number, they can call me. That's the way it works. But I got a call. Hey, we're going to be in the area doing roofing inspections. Would you?
We hear that a lot.
I'm like, I've had a few roofing guys on my show, guys. And some of these guys, all of them have become friends of mine. We just how we work. We get to know the people. So I got 12 guys I could have fixed my roof, right? I'm going to work with the guys who, if I have a problem. But I'm not going to have somebody calling my house, showing up, and then he said this to me, he goes, have you signed a contract? I'm like, because then it's like, no, he'll just hang up the phone probably, right? But if you haven't signed a contract, we're going to come in there, and what are we going to do? Try to get you to sign a contract.
Sign a paper.
But guess what I don't do? Sign a contract.
Sure.
Because I've got my buddy working on it, right? And somebody I know and I trust, like yourself. And you say, hey, we're going to sign a contract when it's time to sign a contract.
Absolutely.
Not because I want to lock you in on something and you can't get out of it. And legally in the state of Missouri, you got 3 days if you want to rescind. And it's been 4 days. And did the weekend count or not? And all the stuff that people will do to you just to get you hooked. And like, now I'm aggravated that I got somebody working on my house because they hoodwinked me into signing a contract. Sure. Not a good way to do things.
Not at all. And I mean, there's just no reason for it. I mean, you don't have to make a decision in haste, especially on your home. And anybody pushing you to do that is definitely not there to do you a solid, I would say.
True. And take it from a police officer who've seen all kinds of craziness. I can only imagine. Yeah. You're dealing with the criminals who are going, let me tell you what happened. I swear this is what we did. And you're like, okay, keep talking. And you can figure out all the holes in their story. And on the other side now, you get to fill those holes, fix those things that people have dealt with. And it was a natural disaster. You just don't want them to get down the wrong path where they have somebody, oh yeah, it's fixed. Trust me. Just wait till we're gone.
First rainstorm.
That's how you do. All right. Well, with that in mind, as a matter of doing this, has technology impacted the way you do your business? I mean,
absolutely.
Tell me how you've had differences the way you do things now, back when you were working with your dad when you were 10 years old, and the way the technology has changed it for you.
I mean, it's amazing the way that now you can do pretty much everything from your truck. I mean, before we'd be up there with a tape measure, measuring the roofs, measuring the valleys, measuring everything. And now it's computer programs. Everything's done by computer. You can get measurements, material orders, all that. All of it's done off computer, which...
How does that work a little bit? Is that the satellite imagery they got?
Yeah,
And they come up there and they can say, oh, we're now down to the inch, how big that roof surface is.
Absolutely. It's amazing, the technology they have. I mean, they can tell you everything about a roof, minus the in-person stuff, like whether it's 2 layers or, the different type of roofing. But the measurement stuff, I mean, it's all there,
So it is still worth having a human be involved.
Oh, absolutely.
Because they haven't yet got the drones that can pull the shingle up to see the damage underneath, if there's underlayment, if the underlayment has been torn, or deteriorated. They don't do that yet. I guess maybe they'll have drones like,
yeah, I'm sure.
And then you guys say, hey, now you just damaged it more.
Right.
But we're not there yet. But still want to have that. So you still get up on roofs periodically.
Absolutely.
And then have to.
I think if a company tells you they're not going to get up on your roof, they're probably not the ones you want to go with. You definitely want a roofer that's comfortable being on roofs and being up there. I mean, drones are great, measurements from satellites are great, but you still need that in person to see what's really going on and make sure it's fixed right.
Well, tell me the process, if you will. Somebody says, Greg, I can tell you're an integral guy. You got your is it wife, right? You guys are married.
Yep.
Helping you here. She's running the show behind the scenes. We got a good mom and pop situation here. I can trust you guys. Let's do this. What's the process?
I mean, once you give us the go-ahead, I mean, we take over from there, from start to finish. We handle the insurance inspections. That's the biggest thing for homeowners. If you're going to file a claim, make sure you have a contractor there to run the inspection with the adjuster. So that way you do get that coverage. Because you'll get adjusters that show up and they'll adjust from the street and say, oh, looks good up there. We don't need to get up there. You need the contractor there to make sure that happens. That's the start of the process for us, and then everything else goes into the office with Wendy, and she does her magic and gets you all the coverage that you deserve, and then we come put on a great roof and gutters and siding or whatever is warranted for that claim.
I guess sometimes depending on the issue, it might be the actual structure.
Sure.
And then you get into the argument: was it not maintained properly, and is it covered or not?
Sure.
How often? But you go into bat for the client.
They get creative. The insurance companies get creative, but that's where we come in to combat that, and make sure that they do their job honestly, just like we do. So
that's important. Let's show off the website a little bit. Wendy, did you do this website? I did. Yeah. So look at here, check it out, everybody. I'm going to put it up on the wall for everyone to take a look at. But I just love that lion. That is so cool. I'm going to do a Control minus to try to get it to fit a little tighter on the screen for my smaller screen here where we're at. These screens are very large, but the resolution we can't push as high because the way they fit on a TV show. But there's that form submission. They fill that out. This will send you an email, and then it'll show them, get you into the system that way, and you answer those. And then a lot of good customer feedback. But also I noticed on here some of the work you've done. And that underlayment, top shield. Is that a ridge vent that I see there also on top of that?
You got ridge vent on some of those, yeah.
Yeah, you want to have a ridge vent these days. I know I've learned a little bit. I don't understand that entirely, but it's about you don't want too hot and otherwise water. Tell me why those technologies important for people to have.
The ridge vent is great to allow heat to escape through your attic.
Okay.
But to install a ridge vent, you definitely need the soffit vents because it works in a circuit, right? So you put the ridge vent in, the hot air goes to the peak of the top of the attic, it escapes to the ridge vent, right? But you have to have a component that pushes that hot air up. So you need soffit vents if you're going to put a ridge vent in. Just as a little side fact for customers.
Yeah, so then if somebody wants to get techie, because this would be something, I don't care, just do it. Well, hopefully they didn't just do the ridge vent, because if they don't have now the soffit vents, are those down at the bottom? Up above the below the gutters?
Of your house, yeah. So you need those soffit vents
because it allows the air to come up.
It pushes it in, and then it pushes that hot air out the ridge. If you only have gables, it can short circuit that whole system and push the hot air back down into your attic.
This is why you hire the experts, everybody, because I just heard the word ridge vent. It makes me sound cool, I think, but I don't know what that is. So we got to put the hat on here as we talk about when you're helping the community, helping people, because education. There we go. I always talk. Am I weird for talking about my mom? I don't think so. My mom has been impactful for a lot of people. I'm lucky. Sometimes I thought when I was a kid I was unlucky to have a mom that was so strict. But I look back and I'm like, I'm glad, because it kept me. I would have been as messed up as anybody, trust me, if I didn't have a mom like I did. But she talks about it, education. Somebody who's been teaching now for 60 years, 40 years full-time, 20 years still. They asked her, she did an article about her in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch on the front page. And she says, you never took a week off in between 40 years full-time to 20 years part-time and running the foundation.
Wow, that's amazing.
But her point is education. If you want to feel like you've contributed on this little planet, help other people to become informed, to become knowledgeable. And that's essentially what you're doing here to help people understand. If you just said I didn't know what a reg vent was until I talked to a couple of roofing guys. And I still, like, until you said it, I'm like, oh, so that's how it works, right? But that's not what I do for a living. I just got to know that I'm trusting somebody who does know what they're doing, who's had a family history from since you were 10. And prior to that, how long before you were born did Dad have the company going?
Oh, man, he started before I was born. I was the firstborn, so he's probably been doing it before the stroke, 45 years total.
Okay. So back into the early 1900s, everybody.
No, I'm talking about my dad, not me. I've been doing it, you know.
Well, I'm talking about your dad's, the history of the family.
Yeah.
So you're going mid-1900s.
No, he started it when he'd have been in his 20s. So before he had me, I'm 42. I'll be 42.
So 20 years before that.
Yeah.
Would that be 1950 something?
No, what would that be? What am I doing the math wrong?
Were you born in
84.
84, so 66, 64.
Yeah,
so not quite mids, but close.
He started in the mid-70s is when they started the business. Yeah.
Okay, so not quite mid-50s, but 60s. We're in that, like, older than most people's cars.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, no doubt.
For
no
sure,
doubt.
even if those historic cars. Well, that's what you want, and there's some people that have been doing this for a long time that we can appreciate the hard work and dedication and the education being provided. Take note. Get educated, everybody. Understand what you're talking about. The information's out there. We do get the people to become YouTube experts, right?
Sure.
That's good to know enough to get, what do they say, this deep. When there's a real issue, you need to know all of this. You're not going to learn that in 30 minutes to tell the roofing guy how to fix your roof. Make sure you talk to guys, take their word on it. Find the people that know what they're talking about. And you can tell that based on these kinds of chats you get to hear from people. What would you say was a big challenge you've overcome as a business owner? As somebody who's had to every day wake up and provide that quality, manage this business and keep it going. One thing we noted that you don't really want to expand to become some big company. You're not looking to hire a bunch of people. And that's part of the reason that I'm like, why is that? A lot of people, they want to make more money. They want to, because you're more involved, and to you it's more important to have that high level of quality and integrity. And you make enough money doing what you do to pay the bills.
Absolutely, yeah.
Keep the quality very high.
Well, it's a good, honest living, and we can treat people right along the way. I don't have to have 10 people knocking on your doors at dinner time to make, my paycheck. We can do good, honest work, and then you call me back and you say, hey, I got a friend or a dad or a cousin that also needs a roof. You treated me right. Here's this roof too. I'd rather do it like that than have a team full of people that, I'm not saying that all the contractors with tons of people lose quality, but I just feel like in our business, you got to do it yourself or you lose quality.
Try to produce a TV show. I brought I don't know if it's more difficult. My dad made the joke with me years ago. Carter, you want to do a job that is inside work with no heavy lifting. Because now, Greg here, he can handle it. He was a state champion wrestler too. That's a lot of discipline you learn from doing that. But not that, I've buffed up over the years, or is it just I put more weight on? I'm not sure which. But get into something you can specialize in, do it well, and just to stay focused on that. I think that's what you're saying, and then make sure you're doing good quality stuff for the client.
Absolutely.
And you'll work, but it won't really be work so much as just satisfaction you get from waking up every day. I did a great job. Is it best to be able to sleep at night? Because people they don't do the job right. How do they sleep at night?
As a business owner, you don't sleep at night as it is. You take on all the stress. But
that's a great point.
Even doing it right. But yeah.
We're not. I'm people. Carter, you sent me an email at 4:00 in the morning. I know. I hadn't gone to bed yet.
Yeah. So all the time.
I wasn't up at 4:00.
Yeah.
I get up at 9.
Yeah.
But the point is not because I couldn't sleep. It's because we're working day and night to make sure we can get it done for our clients. Yeah. Not because we have trouble sleeping. I appreciate it. That's a good point, because a lot of people, man, you're up late at night anyway. But was it because you couldn't sleep? Because you took advantage of somebody? You didn't do the job as well?
Yeah.
Is that an easier way to do it? Then I make the argument. Is it easier to do it that way? You say, oh, you saved a few bucks. You scammed somebody out of a few bucks, but you can't sleep at night.
Right.
How cool is that?
Right.
Yeah, it's more work to be shady than it is to just do the job right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Isn't that the truth?
Sure.
And never feel like you've ever taken advantage. Believe me, I've had things that went wrong. We had a show that didn't record. I said, hey, I had a new setup, and it wasn't their fault. The software didn't work the way it should have worked. It's not their fault, my fault. You make it right. You fix it. And
Absolutely.
you got to go through and go make sure everybody gets their stuff taken care of.
Sure.
and maybe he's a police officer for 17 years. So you know, yeah, this is a guy who's going to do it right, because you can't have that kind of background and not take care of people. And that makes me feel good. I'm like, I got a police officer who's going to fix my roof. You think he's yes, going to do it right. That's important. All right. A challenge to overcome in your life, would you say, is there everything in your life that you would say, man, that was a moment in my life that really helped me to understand the importance of, and a lesson was learned, or something that like just was difficult, but you pulled through anyway? Everybody goes through something like that in life, it seems. But for you, what would you say? Was it being a cop for 17 years? What would be the thing you look back and you go, man, that was a real, that made me a stronger man? Or, I mean, wrestling, I know, sports we talk about a lot too.
You know, I mean, I could take any one of those and say, yeah, that. But really, it was being on the job sites with my dad at 10 years old, and having that instilled in me of, hey, this is how you do it. You know, this is how you go to work every day. This is how you get your stuff done. You know, and that honestly flooded into other areas of my life: wrestling, business, police work, everything. I applied, you know, that work ethic and that dedication to everything I did, and you know, it set me up for success. I mean, it's been great.
That's a good point, because we don't get to talk about that, but you shared that, because not a lot of people I know, I mean, I guess some of them, they worked with their dad when they were really young, but having that kind of an impact. When I was also known as my dad's opponent. He called me the opponent. I was like, what? I'm my dad's opponent. You don't know what opponent means, Carter. That means you're opposing your dad. But I would literally tell you, I'll never forget the story was, they're building a little cabin in our place down not too far from St. Louis, and I took a screwdriver, and there's a pipe. And I'm like, oh, watch, this screwdriver will fit in the pipe. Watch this. Boop.
Oh, no.
Dropped it. And you get here like, wait, we need that screwdriver. Now they got. So I was my dad's opponent in that case. But it seems like, but I did, I guess, as I was a child, I got to recall being there to help Dad lift some of this or hold that.
Yeah.
And is that what you think might have helped develop some of that impact, where, because you were involved with your dad? That's what I guess what I'm getting at is that father-son relationship.
Yeah,
had a lot to do with the way you developed as a human to be successful and change our little planet. How's that impacted you?
Oh, I mean, it's everything you just talked about. I mean, watching my dad build those relationships and have people, you know, send us Christmas cards. We did their roofs and they'd send us Christmas cards. You know, it just, I mean, he was just that kind of guy. And watching him run his business like that has set me up for so many different areas of my life for success.
Well, I'm back to then integral, do it right the first time. Those things that'll make it easy for you to wake up and feel like you're fulfilled on this little planet. Facebook page we've got up here over here too, everybody. So if you want to get some more information, these days you got to have. There's Wendy at shieldedshingle.com, right? That's the website. I knew that. There it is on the front of on the titles we've got up on the screen, everybody here. But you can look here. These guys have been doing this. They've got the resources, and you know, because if you don't do social media, then you're going to be left behind. But they've got a nice little page here to share how you get a hold of them, things, the jobs they've worked on. And there's an interview. Is this the one you were talking about with the double doors? Yeah. And learn about our professionals, our business owners here that are doing a great job, and lots of great information. And that is linkable if you guys want to find that. You can go to Facebook, you can do that search, or go to their website. We talked about shieldedshingle.com. At the very top of the page is that little Facebook icon. Good. Not too much in your face, but at least they know. Everybody recognizes the Facebook icon there. And how you do that. 636-206-6030, shieldedshingle.com, where you can find everything you want to learn about our experts here sharing their small businesses they're helping change the world with. How do you feel like you best contribute to the community? And there's a number of ways you might do that, but I'd say first you already contributed a lot by serving our community as a police officer. Does that carry over? Is there any special organizations you really favor that you enjoy helping? But also just by making sure people's houses are in order. It's a great service to provide and help with people.
I mean, I think, you know, even as a policeman, I was involved in a lot of charitable events. I boxed for the police department. I fought in a couple charity fights.
Did you do guns and hoses?
So I got injured. I tore my bicep training for the week before box office. I threw a left hook and I disconnected my bicep. That's what this scar's from. So, yeah. So I missed out on guns and hoses.
I can see that scar a little closer than you guys can, but okay. So you were in there doing the guns. That's a great event.
It was amazing. It was amazing to train the guys that put that on, the coaches, they're awesome. You know, just a great Backstoppers is just a great organization. But yeah, I did a couple charity fights for the police department, and you know, we continue. We're involved right now with like St. Louis Sports Outreach. We try to donate when we can to what they got going on and show up to their fundraisers. You know, Billy Mayhall does great things over there. So
Honestly, Billy's one of my heroes, man. Everybody,
is he really?
I started running around doing this, and they're probably like, "You need to have Billy Mayhall on." And I've talked to him a couple of times.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, "Man, I don't. That's not about me." And I'm like, "But you're doing good things."
Good
I did
dude.
corner him at an event, and he couldn't hide from me. I said, this was a boxing event for kids.
Oh, yeah.
The video's up there. I got invited as a Cardinal Cowboy. It was through Guns and Hoses.
Okay.
One of the boxers, former pro. We talked for a minute, and he just reached out to me. I thought he was trying to get me to promote a charity thing that he had to put it out there, which I do a lot of that. But he said, "No, we just want you to come to the event and we're going to have Evander Holyfield, Buster Douglas, Devin Alexander the Great, and some people coming I can't talk about. Sugar. Oh, I didn't say that out loud, did I? Sugar. Da, na, na, na. But there's some. They did announce it. I think it's actually been made public now. The next event. But I was just invited to come there to that event, and there's Billy Mayhall, and I said, "Billy, I was asked to come to the event, but you know me." I always bring one of these things with me. And guess what? You can record broadcast quality with this little thing. So I'm just like, I got my little selfie stick. And I said, "Billy, tell me about this thing, man. You're doing such good stuff in the community." So I go to his events as I can to try to promote them. But literally, back to the sports thing. He's really allowing kids to get in to play sports that can't afford it, because baseball gloves not cheap. You know, if dad doesn't make a huge salary like some of these kids, that's hard to get all that kind of equipment. So you've worked with Billy on supporting him too.
Well, and the best thing about that is he supports small businesses. He supports guys like us, you know, and allows us. Honestly, we're fortunate enough to be part of some of his fundraisers that, like you said, he brings the sports to these kids that otherwise, you know, they wouldn't have an opportunity to play or have the equipment to do it right.
What's his website again? I want to put that up for everybody.
It's Slyco, but I can't. I don't.
If you give me a sports outreach, that's right.
Yeah, St. Louis Sports Outreach.
So let's just do a St. Louis Sports Outreach search. There it is, everybody. I think, is that it?
Yeah,
there it is. Yeah.
Slyco.
So while we're here, because we do ask people, say, who's your favorite charity? Who is it that you enjoy supporting?
Oh, yeah.
And these guys, thank you for bringing up Billy, because I have never put him on the show like this in the studio. I went up and interviewed him and talked to his other guys that he involved. But take a look here, St. Louis Sports Outreach, and all the stuff they do and the fun stuff. And they're on that interview that we did that aired on ABC. We got paid for by some sponsors that we had to do a great job to make that come together. But if you're supporting different organizations like that, you're literally now even more so, man, because those guys, I've been to their little. They got inside of a church where they store all the sporting goods that the church donated some space, and they've got catcher's mitts and shin guards and face masks and everything that you need to play baseball, bats, and it was just really cool. And Billy's he does that out of his own heart, just because he's got a full-time job, but he gets to do this stuff to make an impact on our little planet too.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, everybody. Stay tuned. If you know anybody else that has done a great job in our community that's helping to make the world a better place, let us know. We're looking for our local leaders sharing their secrets to success, often business owners, but a lot of charities that I've got sponsorship money. So a couple times I just paid out of my own pocket because they're a little cutthroat. And I do that. I've done pretty well in this world. When I was running the email systems for Anheuser-Busch, imagine doing that. They had a 27-year-old running their email systems for Anheuser-Busch.
Wow.
Building the corporate email systems. What were they thinking? But I'm fortunate to be there. Stay tuned for more, everybody. Giddy up.